Hi everyone, you're welcome to another interesting pattern drafting tutorial. On today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you how to make this stylish bustier blouse with a scallop neckline and of course an asymmetric hemline. If this sounds like what you've been interested in knowing how I did it, then you have to stick around till the end. If you've not subscribed to my channel, do well to subscribe. Here on the channel I share lots of pattern drafting tutorial that you will definitely be learning from. Without wasting much of your time, let's get right into the video. So to draft this pattern, I started with a plain paper and of course all my pattern drafting items. Okay, I have my rule, the curved rule, which I am using the straight part to draw a straight line, just as you can see. Now the next thing to do is to go ahead and impute my basic neckline. Okay, that is 3 by 3, but if your client is a bit on the big side, you can use 3.5 by 3.5. Then I use my armhole curve rule to connect those 2 points. Now this is the shoulder measurement divided by 2, and I marked at 2 points and drew my vertical line. After that, I dropped by 1 inch and I'm connecting this to the neckline, just as you can see. So right here, I will mark the bust level, which is 10 for my client, then on the bust, which is about 3¼ to 3.5 inches from the bust point, and of course the waistline and the top length. Yes. Then I have to go ahead and mark these very measurements at another position so that I'll get a perfect straight line. Okay. Now the next is to use my rule and mark horizontal lines across this point. That is bust, then on the bust, and then the waist, and then the top length. Okay. So I mark the top length and I will continue with the measurements. But this top length is not the final top length. I will still add 2 inches to it. Just come with me as I put you through the whole process. So you can see that I have labeled all the landmarks that I just marked. Now the next is the bust measurement divided by 4. You go ahead and mark your bust measurement and then connect. So this is what I did and I connected, okay, as you can see. So I had to go ahead and mark 5 inches. I had to go in by 3/4 and then measure the armhole measurement divided by 2. Now the armhole is simply where the hand joins to the body. You just measure around there and add 2 inches to it. Whatever it gives you, you divide it by 2, and that is what the measurement that you are going to take on your armhole. So this is the waist measurement divided by 4, and then 1¼ inches that intake. Okay, that is what I just marked, and then I will connect to the side, just as you can see me do. If you follow this whole process, you're going to get a perfect bustier. All right, so here is the hip measurement, hip level, and then this is hip measurement divided by 4, and I marked, and then I'm using it as a landmark, right? I'm not drawing the line to the hip. I just used it to get sort of the shape for the hemline of the top. Okay, now this is the bust to bust measurement, which is 6, and I'm just measuring 3, which is the half of 6. Okay, so right on that point on the waistline, I measured ½ inch on both sides. Okay, and then I dropped here by 1 inch and I ensured this at 3 inches from the center front. Now I use this point to draft the dart intake, just as you can see. So after that, I will go ahead and take the underbust tightening, which is 1/4 here and 3/4 this way. So I will take this to the bust point, just as you can see. Use your armhole curve rule or any other curve rule that blends well and connect these points to the bust points. So that is what I just did, and yeah, this is what I got. Now the next thing to do is to go ahead and connect these to the dart leg, okay, which I connected like this, and this place you can see that it has increased the dart leg by 1/4 inch, and that is why I added 1/1/4 to the dart intake. I took at the waistline measurement divided by 4 plus 1/1/4 inch that intake. Okay, so now I will drop the neckline to where I want, like the deepest part of the scallop. Okay, that is what I did here, and I just took 5 inches. So I marked another point, and what I'm trying to do here is just to get the neckline. Now feel free to use any method you please to draft your neckline. That is what I have to say here, but pay close attention to see how I got a perfect design for my neckline. So when I got this level, I had to rule a straight line here. Now watch closely to see what I did. So I'm trying to take the scallop. So I'm trying to gauge the best, pattern for it. I'm thinking of where the sleeve is because the sleeve is encroached. So I had to, draft the sleeve first so that I will know where it lands and know exactly where to fix the scallop. So I extended this shoulder line by about 1.5 to 2 inches, and then I had to connect to where I want the scallop. Notice that this shoulder line has changed. I increased the height on that shoulder tip by about 3/8 inch, okay, and then changed the line of the shoulder because of the design of the sleeve. So see where I connected it. You can see how I connected it to this line that I drew. Yes, this is what I got. Now this is pattern drafting, and that is why it's perfect on paper, so that if you notice anything, you can easily, change the position. Okay, you check your picture or the pattern you want to copy and ensure that it's giving you exactly what you want. If you feel the line is outward or inward, you can easily change it to exactly the position where you want it. Okay, so I took a measurement here, which is 1.5 inches from that neckline, and I'm connecting to this point. Notice that this point is 1 inch from the first mark I made for the base of the sleeve. Okay, now I have a guideline of where I want my scallop to end. I hope this makes sense. Now the next stage is to ensure that you're getting a perfect scallop, like the measurements and everything. If you want it to be equal in spacing and all of that, that is what I'm trying to do. So I'm just marking points to ensure that the scallop neckline gives me a equal sort of design. Okay, so this is me getting the middle of the scallop of each half circle of the scallop. So that is what I'm marking. So invariably I marked about 3 positions to help me or to guide me on the points I am going to take the scallop to. Okay, so I took this height. I took equal height for the scallop at this point, because at this point I looked at the scallop as they are equal in height. So if you want yours to be equal in height, this is what you're going to do. But when I looked again, I saw that the second scallop is even lower than the first one. I also reduced the height of the first one a bit. Yes, you will notice that I reduced it a bit because I thought it's so raised, so I reduced it by about 1/4. Then the second one is even lower, like shorter than the height of the first scallop, because that is how it appears in the picture. I'm trying to copy exactly what it is. So these are what go on when you're drafting a pattern. If you notice any error, feel free to correct it while drafting the pattern. I hope this makes sense, and that is why drafting on paper is perfect. Okay, so after doing this is what I have. At this point I was okay with the scallop neckline, so I had to connect to get my overbust tightening. Yes, I drafted my scallop first before drawing my overbust tightening. Feel free to draw your overbust tightening before drawing your scallop. There is no rule to this. Okay, now I took about 1/4 this way and then 1/4 this other way. Okay, more like 1/2 inch is the total overbust tightening I took for the scallop. Yes, because the scallop really make the neckline to be a bit high, so there's no need tightening it so much, because the contour guideline was not really cut into because the neckline is high. I hope this makes sense, right? But if it's a low neckline, please tighten it really nicely. So after this is what I have, and yeah, just watch closely to see what I am doing. So because of this scallop neckline, and by the time because of this overbust tightening that is going to tighten the bust by 1/2, I had to increase here by 1/2 and go in here by 1/2. That is all I did. This is because the tightening is going to make one of the scallops to be smaller, and I want to redraw one of the scallop ridges. So now I connected the new points, just as you can see me do right here. I'm going to clean up the old points. Okay, now see me redrawing the scallop. You can see that it has been increased by 1/2 inch. Now this will not affect the size of the scallop even after tightening the neck. What I'm doing here is to clean up the previous sleeve that I drew. I hope this makes sense. Okay, just it's as simple as that. It's actually not had, and that is all I did just to expand the scallop. Is just simple mathematical calculation. Okay, so after this, I had to go ahead and use my tippers and clean up all of the old lines so that you won't be confused, right? So at this point, you can see how the sleeve joined and where it's joined, because you're going to give a notch while cutting this on fabric so that you know exactly where your sleeve is going to be attached. Please, this is very important. Don't just change the where the sleeve is attached. It is so important. Okay, so now you can see that the shape of the armhole at this point does not matter. What matters is the shape of the sleeve and how it connects to the bustier. I hope this makes sense. So this is me trying to complete the dart. I marked 3 inches from the center front, and I connected it to the dart leg. Now, after completing the darts, we will go on for the rest of the pattern. Okay, so you can see this lower part. Now I'm going to come up here by about 3.5 inches, then I will drop here by about 2 inches. Okay, and I'm going to use these to draft or draw the asymmetric hemline. So this is how I connected the 2 points to get the hemline of the top. So now I'm going to extend the dart leg to this point. Yes, so you can see how I did that. It's as easy as that. So here I'm labeling the bust point, the underbust, the waist, and all of that, because you're going to put your notches while cutting it on fabric. Very important, because these notches will help you to, stitch the fabric together, because you must be matching the notches while putting the fabric together. If you don't match the notches, it's going to really not look nice. Now this is the difference between the front and the back half length, which is 1.5 inches, and I had to take it now. That is the side bust dart. And with that, we are done with the front pattern. I'll go ahead and continue with the back, and then we will then cut out the pattern and you see the result of the whole process. So to draft the back, I had to start with drawing a line at the beginning, just a starting point, nothing serious. Now I marked here by 3 inches by 1 inch, because this is back neckline and that is a basic back. You can also use 3.5 by 1 if your client is a bit on the big side. So what I marked next is the shoulder measurement divided by 2. I marked at 2 points and drew my vertical line. Now I dropped by 1 inch and connected to the side of the neck like this. So after that, I will go ahead and mark the back half length, because the back half length here is 15. The front I use 16.5. So I used 15 for the back. Mark your back half length, and then mark again the back half length, and then draw a horizontal line across that point. Now, after drawing the horizontal line, we'll go ahead with the bust measurement divided by 4. You mark at 2 points at least, and then draw a straight vertical line with these 2 points. Okay, so after that, I will go ahead and take the back tightening of 1/2 inch, and then from there I measured waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch dart intake and marked, and then I connected to the side, just as you can see. So now after that, I'll connect this. I'll take it upwards and in such a way that it blends smoothly to that center back. Now this is 5 inches drop, and I had to go in by 1/2 inch and measure the armhole measurement divided by 2. After that, I will connect this point and draw my armhole with the armhole curve. Now the next is to go to the front pattern, measure from the waistline to the hem. Okay, measure from the waistline to the hem, original hem of the top, and measure the same thing for the back. Just as you can see at 2 positions, use your stretch rule and connect these points. So blend this to the back tightening like this, such that it blends smoothly to the center back as well. Now I measured the hip measurement level, and then hip measurement divided by 4. Or you simply take the same measurements you have at this level for the front and mark the same for the back. So after that, you connect these to the waistline. So this is me just trying to show you that this works. You can also measure the hip level, measure your hip measurement divided by 4 like this, then use your rule. You know, it's this same way that I got for the front, and you can see that it landed exactly at that measurement that I took from the front for the hip, you know, for the blouse length. So I dropped here by 2 inches and then had to go up here by the same amount I went up by in front, and I'll go ahead and connect this just like the front. Okay, so now the next is to go ahead and mark your dart intake. Take 1/2 inch on both sides, drop this by about 5.5 inches, mark the same position for the center of the dart at the hem of the dress, or the hem of the top rather. So after marking it, you're going to connect those points. Okay, I'm just ensuring that the middle of those 2 points are the same. So you go ahead and connect your dart to the waistline, okay, to the leg of the dart. So after that, we take the same measurement here, come up here and take for the middle, then connect the dart upwards just like this. So this is what I have, and I ensure that it does not pass the where the armhole ended. Okay, just as you can see. So this is what I have at this stage. You can do the back the way you please. You can take it straight. You can still make it a scallop neckline. I mean the neckline for the back. Just feel free to do what you please. It must not be scallop, but if you want scallop, you can do scallop. So now this is me cutting out the front, because I'll use the same hem, this curve at the hem for the front. I'll use the same for the back. That is why I did not draft the back hem immediately. Okay, so just go ahead and cut out your front and use that measurement. Use the same shape to cut out the back. Now this is me, you know, tracing the hem of the top, matching exactly the waist of the front to the waist of the back. Watch closely to see what I did. What matters is the waist of the front to the waist of the back, and then you curve, you know, trace out the whole lower part of this top. Okay, so after that I had to go in here by 1.5 inches, just as I did in front, that is on the neckline. Then I used this to trace out the sleeve, because I want to get exactly what I got in front at the back as well, because I will use the same sleeve. Okay, but if you want to do otherwise, feel free to do you, right? So after that, this is what I got. So I'll go ahead and draw a straight place here, a straight line here, and yeah, the pattern of the back is complete. If you still want, you can make it a V. You can take any shape you want for the back. You can make a scallop neckline. Just feel free to do you. All right, then the next is to go ahead and cut out the back. So you can see what I have, where I shaded will be, you know, stitched on, or you can still cut it open, I mean for the back pattern. So this is what I have for the front and the back pattern. I'm just labeling where the inner part of this would be. So I just wrote it chest, so that I'll know where the sleeve, part of the sleeve that will be inside, so that I won't mistakenly put it around the armhole area, if this makes sense. So the next is to go ahead and cut out your front pattern. Just dissect it, just as you can see me do. You know, you're going to trim off the overbust tightening and of course the darts, just as I'm doing here. So after cutting it out, we are going to go ahead and close the side bust dart. That is the next to do. So after doing this, I'll just go ahead and keep the front pattern aside while we'll continue with the back. So for the back, you can stitch down the darts like this. You can cut it whole like this and stitch it down, or you cut it open just as you can see me do, such that there will be a line running on this back, dividing one side of the back into two, so that the whole back pattern will be in 4 pieces, right? I hope this makes sense. So you can cut open your dart like this, or you stitch it down on the fabric that is cutting it all together, if this makes sense. So this is what we have for the back pattern. I will just go ahead and stick everything together so that you see the outcome of our whole pattern making process. Okay, so I had to stick the dart just as you can see, So after sticking it down, the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and take care of the sleeve. Okay, so you have to put the shoulder area together and just stick it together so that we can cut this sleeve in one. It doesn't have to have a shoulder joining, except you want yours to have a shoulder joining. Just feel free to do you, but it's better to stick it together and cut it all in one. So after that, this is the next one, and that is the front pattern. So we are going to go ahead. I am going to go ahead and cut out this front pattern. Yes, so I'm going to cut it on fold because I want you to see the whole, that is the full pattern. I don't want it to be in like half of the pattern, so that is why I'm placing it on fold. So what I'm doing now, the original pattern is more like when you make your pattern on paper, and this folded pattern is like when you're cutting on fabric. The only difference is that I did not add seam allowance. So these are seamless patterns that you will be adding seam allowance to when cutting on fabric, if this makes sense. Okay, but you can feel free to ask your questions in the comment section. So this is how you're going to cut the sleeve as well. It's just that you did not enter there. So now this is me cutting out what I have here just to duplicate the pattern. Okay, so after duplicating the pattern, this is what I have. Just as you can see, I'll go ahead and remove all of those pins. And then it is very important to mark your bust point on the bust and all of those points, because it will be very important while joining this together. You're going to put notches at those points on your fabric, and do not forget or fail to put your seam allowances. So this is what I have for the front pattern, and I'm going to go ahead and stick it down. Now those landmarks on the bust, waistline notch and all of that is what is going to help you to stitch this patterns together accurately. I hope you understand. So this is me sticking the pattern together so that you see visibly what it looks like after the whole sewing process. I strongly believe that whatever your final outcome will be for your patterns, you can see it while the pattern is on paper. Yes, you can see it. So anyhow it comes out on paper is still similar to how it's going to come out on your end fabric. So I'm going to do this part off camera, and after that, this is what I have. You can agree with me that this is perfect. This is so beautiful. You can see the scallop neckline and all of that, the overbust and all. You can see how the back matches the front, even the curve of the hemline, asymmetric hem and all of that. So this is how you're going to join your back to the front pattern, and then the next is to fix the sleeve. So what I'm going to do now is to duplicate the sleeve. Yes, I'm going to duplicate the sleeve and then go ahead to fix it on this top. So I'm just going to make one more pattern of the sleeve and then use the main pattern for one side and then the new pattern on the other side of the top. So now this is me fixing the sleeve with my masking tape, and notice that I ensured that the part I wrote chest is facing the inside. Yes, it's very important. Ensure that you notch it if it is on fabric, so that the notch will show you the part that will be inside, such that you won't mistaken that part to be around the armhole area. So I did the same for the second part of the sleeve, and I had to go ahead and stick it up. So you can see what I have right here. Just go ahead and stitch it. Of course, when you're using your lining and the fabric, you will have to stabilize the neckline of your lining. Very important. You'll use either paper gum or cloth gum to give it a bit of more structure to help the scallop to stand out. I hope this makes sense. Now you're going to do that on your lining. For your fabric, you're going to be applying hairstay, and then you're going to pad it up with wadding and all of that before you start putting all of that together. I hope you understand, but if you have any question on how you should put it together, you can ask me in the comments, since the sewing is not included in this video. So after doing all of this, I had to go ahead and pin it down so that you see exactly what this pattern, this top looks like. You can agree with me that this is perfect. Guys, if you've watched this tutorial to this stage and have still not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Here on the channel, I share tutorials that you will definitely be learning from. Trust me. Thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for always stopping by to watch my videos. I do not take that for granted. I love you all, and of course I will see you in my next video. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, comment, share, so that others will see these fantastic videos. Thanks, guys, and of course I will see you in my next video. Bye.